I want to talk about the problem of evil, to give a pastoral perspective on how to handle the presence of real evil in the world in the light of the Christian beliefs that God is all-powerful and God is all-good. The difficulty of handling troubling times is a challenge to belief in God, and also a challenge to the faith of many. If God is all-powerful, he should be able to stop the evil in the world, and quickly. If God is all good, he should desire to do that, and quickly. But evil exists, and therefore we ask this question in moments of doubt: is God all good, and is God all-powerful? Well, in processing this question, I must say that Christians are very firm in their belief in an all-powerful sovereign God. Also, very firm in their belief that this God is a good God, and evil is real. And we have to kind of handle those things in a kind of a dynamic tension. Well, it's like trying to explore a field in which you are bounded by certain fences. And here are the fences that bound this territory where Christians can be both people of doubt and people of questions, but also people of faith. The first thing we talked about was that we don't live in a perfect world. The world has been damaged. The Christian story is that it's been damaged by sin. Sin has polluted our hearts and minds, and sin has actually affected everything there is in the world. So, and even for people of faith, even people who come and are faithful, even the saints didn't experience a perfect world. So we are to live out the will of God in an imperfect world. There is a second, and I will go through about 10 of these in this series, that the second one is that God has given us a free will, and we have freedom to act. We have freedom to make certain decisions. And most of the problems that we face in the world can be traced to this misuse of freedom. We could say, well, we don't really have a free will. The only will in the universe is God's. That's a kind of fatalism that I'm not comfortable with. I believe that God has given us free will, and the moral accountability that we have to God. And that's a part of the Christian story, that God will demand an accountability from us, and God is a God of justice. And if we had the inability to make choices, that would make God the author of sin, and I'm not comfortable with that. So this second fence that I see is simply that God has given us a free will, and we have freedom to act, and most of the ills that we face that are inexplicable can be traced to that. Especially, for example, natural disasters, flooding, the over-harvesting of the oceans, the over-harvesting of our forests. The damage that we do is almost irreparable and creates untold suffering for many people. And so God has given us a free will, freedom to act, and most of the troubles that we experience in life, not all of them, but most of them can be attributed to that in some ways. Even some of the diseases that we contract can be the result of not following through on the proper use of free will. Certain kinds of immoral behavior can produce sexually transmitted diseases, for example. And even innocent people can be caught up into that. I mean, the abuse of drink in our world can cause untold sufferings. Even in innocent children are born with that kind of fetal syndrome. So even in this recent crisis with the COVID-19 virus, if we refuse to heed the instruction of our political leaders and our healthcare experts, if we do not avoid congregating, if we do not practice social distancing, physical distancing, we can cause untold suffering to ourselves and to others. So when we are thinking about all the trouble in the world, we don't necessarily need to say, oh, I don't believe in God, because that's too difficult to believe in God when there's so much suffering. Much of the suffering can be traced, much, not all, can be traced to the misuse of our free will. And so let me encourage you to think about that. Don't be too quick to blame your troubles on God. Look at the ways the proper use of free will can produce in us a more responsible set of behaviors to the benefit of ourselves and to the benefit of our neighbors. May God bless you today as you consider these things. In the following session, I'm going to talk about this idea that can God bring good out of evil? Can God bring good out of evil? But that's for the next day. And I trust now that you will have a wonderful time with your family, that you will connect with your neighbors through phone or through internet technology, and find in yourself joy and peace in the midst of this current struggle that we are facing.